Traveling to world's most dangerous country. Often an undertaking a voyage is equated with exploration, excitement, and cultural appreciation. However, concealed deep within the Earth's crust are areas that are extremely hazardous, where the very spirit of exploration becomes a nuanced interplay with peril. These locales, which range from the perilous alleyways of Latin America to the devastated terrains of the Middle East, offer a stark juxtaposition to the idyllic depictions that are frequently linked with the desire to travel. An investigation into the 15 most perilous destinations worldwide, this article delves beneath the surface of tourist brochures and into the depths of peril. The presence of criminal syndicates, political unrest, and civil unrest undermine the appeal of exploration, serving as a poignant reminder of the precarious nature of human existence when confronted with challenges. Every listed destination possesses its own unique account of adversity and conflict, where the quest for excitement becomes intricately linked with the imperative for constant watchfulness. Although courageous individuals may be enticed by the promise of exploration, it is critical to heed the cautionary advice that reverberates throughout these troubled regions, acknowledging the significance of well-informed choices and risk reduction. Please accompany us as we traverse the treacherous waters of areas engulfed in conflict, maneuver through the intricate labyrinthine streets of cities engulfed in violence, and reveal the stark realities of life in the most perilous locations on the planet. By means of our expedition, we aim to not only illuminate the difficulties encountered by the inhabitants of these regions, but also to pay homage to the fortitude of the human spirit in the face of hardship. Therefore, secure your seatbelts and prepare for an expedition into the unknown as we investigate the 15 most perilous travel destinations on the planet. 1. Syria continues to be a hazardous travel destination on account of its protracted conflict, widespread acts of terrorism, and enduring political instability. When traversing the region's turbulent urban centers and war-ravaged landscapes, travelers encounter substantial dangers. Widespread violence has resulted from the country's civil conflict, with terrorist organizations vying for power and civilians caught in the crossfire. As a result of the high probability of abduction, bombings, and other perilous circumstances that lie in Syria's war-ravaged streets, most governments heavily advise against undertaking any form of travel there. 2. Afghanistan. Travelers are confronted with significant obstacles in the form of a volatile environment characterized by widespread terrorism, insurgency, and prevalent criminal activity. An extremely unstable environment is the result of the country's complex political climate, which is marked by ongoing conflict and the presence of numerous armed factions. Any voyage through Afghanistan is fraught with danger, as terrorist attacks, abductions, and violent crime pose an ongoing threat to travelers. Travel to this nation afflicted by war is strongly discouraged by international governments, which underscore the severe peril presented by the ubiquitous security threats and instability. 3. Iraq continues to be a perilous travel destination on account of its persistent political instability, widespread terrorism, and significantly elevated crime rates. Due to its turbulent past, which has been characterized by insurgency and conflict, the nation is susceptible to ongoing violence and unrest. There are substantial dangers that travelers must confront, including armed conflict, terrorist attacks, and criminal activities like larceny and abduction. International governments advise against visiting Iraq on the grounds of severe security concerns and the volatile nature of the situation, which render the country an exceptionally hazardous location for tourists. 4. Yemen. Yemen is regarded as a highly hazardous travel destination owing to its widespread civil unrest, widespread terrorism, and protracted armed conflict. The nation's turbulent political environment, characterized by faction wars and acts of aggression, presents significant hazards for tourists. Terrorist organizations pose constant dangers to travelers, including bombings, abductions, and targeted attacks. Dangers are exacerbated by the widespread conflict, which exposes individuals to the possibility of being trapped in crossfire or assaulted by various armed factions. Yemen is a highly perilous destination for tourists due to its unstable situation, which has led to the issuance of extensive travel advisories discouraging visits. 5. Venezuela. Due to its severe economic crisis, high crime rate, and political instability, Venezuela poses significant dangers to travelers. In addition to larceny and assault, potential unrest and scarcities of essential items pose risks for travelers. Due to the aforementioned widespread safety concerns, travel to Venezuela is advised against in government advisories. 6. Somalia. Travelers are confronted with significant risks in Somalia as a result of persistent civil strife, terrorism, and widespread piracy. Due to the volatile security situation, visiting the country entails significant peril, including the possibility of armed assaults, abduction, and violence. Officials from governing bodies advise against undertaking journeys to Somalia on the grounds of the prevalent risks to individual safety. 7. South Sudan. A civil conflict, political instability, and widespread violence in South Sudan pose risks to tourists. Amidst ongoing hostilities, travelers encounter a variety of dangers, including armed conflicts, violent crime, and the possibility of becoming entangled in the crossfire. It is highly imprudent to travel to South Sudan in light of the aforementioned substantial safety concerns. 8. Libya. Libya is a hazardous destination for tourists on account of its political instability, terrorism, and protracted armed conflict. The precarious circumstances give rise to substantial hazards encompassing acts of terrorism, aggression, and abductions. Governments strongly discourage travel to Libya, citing the precarious security situation as the primary source of the extreme peril. 9. North Korea. In spite of its stringent government oversight, restricted entry, and severe repercussions for transgressions of regulations, North Korea poses considerable hazards to non-combatants. By failing to comply with regulations, travelers may be subject to surveillance, movement restrictions, and severe repercussions. A visit to North Korea requires one to navigate a strictly regulated environment that carries severe repercussions for any form of deviance. 10. Democratic Republic of the Congo DRC. Due to poverty, political instability, and conflict, certain regions of the Democratic Republic of the Congo DRC are hazardous for tourists. Threats to travelers include armed conflict, criminal activity, and violence. Due to these ubiquitous safety concerns, travel to specific regions of the DRC is discouraged in government advisories. 11. Honduras. Honduras presents potential hazards for travelers on account of its substantial criminal activity, widespread gang warfare, and extensive drug trade. Particularly in metropolitan regions, thieves, assailants, and extortion pose risks to travelers. Government advisories strongly advise against embarking on journeys to Honduras, highlighting the substantial safety hazards that await visitors. 12. El Salvador. El Salvador is a country that poses considerable dangers for travelers on account of its high crime rate, pervasive gang violence, and social unrest. In particular, visitors encounter risks such as larceny, extortion, and assault within urban environments. El Salvador is advised against by the government against travel, with travel advisories emphasizing the grave safety risks that travelers face. 13. Guatemala. Owing to persistent social unrest, high crime rates, and gang violence, Guatemala presents dangers for travelers. Particularly in metropolitan regions, thieves, assailants, and extortion pose risks to travelers. Advisories issued by the government advise against traveling to Guatemala, highlighting the grave safety risks that await visitors. 14. Mexico selective regions. Although the majority of Mexico is devoid of danger for visitors, specific areas, most notably those bordering the United States and those linked to illicit drug trade, defend against acrimonious levels of violence and criminal activity. It is advisable for travelers to exercise prudence and refer to current advisories in order to minimize potential hazards while in these particular regions. 15. Syria. Syria continues to be a notoriously hazardous travel destination on account of its protracted conflict, widespread acts of terrorism, and entrenched political instability. Explosions, abductions, and armed confrontations are a few of the perils that dot the nation's devastated terrain. Consensus among governments worldwide disapproves of undertaking journeys to Syria, underscoring the profound hazards presented by the unstable security environment. Notably, the situation in these areas is susceptible to rapid change. Therefore, travelers should exercise caution and always consult their government's most recent travel advisories before planning to visit. As our exploration of the 15 most dangerous places on Earth for traveling comes to an end, we are reminded of the stark realities faced by those living amidst conflict, violence, and instability. From the war-torn streets of Syria to the perilous alleys of El Salvador, each destination tells its own tale of adversity and resilience. As travelers, it's crucial to approach these areas with caution, heeding the warnings and advice of governments and understanding the risks involved. Remember, the world is vast and diverse, offering both beauty and danger. So whether you're an intrepid adventurer or a cautious explorer, may your journeys be filled with wisdom, compassion, and above all, safety. Safe travels, and may you always return home unharmed. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more captivating content on our YouTube channel.